How mad are you at the NHL right now?
I'm mad at the NHL. Obviously, I side with the players because I know a lot of players. I played the game at a certain level, not the same, but I'm just mad at the whole situation. But at this point, I just think the NHL is really flexing their muscles. They're billionaires. They're not losing the money they say they're losing. We all know in business how easy it is to, kind of cover, right expenses that aren't there and mitigate your losses from one company to another. The billionaires can do that, and they're doing that. And they've put the players in a situation now where the players are just, they're like, we want to play so bad, but this is such a ridiculous offer. We can't. They'll probably end up taking it and really, you think
there's going to be a season?
I'm 50-50 right now if I think there's a season. But we tend to think of players like Crosby and Stamkos. They're fine forever. It's the guys that are on two-way contracts that make $300,000, that are 26 with 2 kids, and now they've lost their spot in the AHL because an $800,000 player from the NHL has come down. And that's the guys I think more of than. But I don't feel sorry for either side. I'm just saying that I think the owners they're billionaires, and they're trying to make us sound like they're not making money.
So what do you think fans should do?
There's nothing we can do. Yeah, there's nothing. There's nothing. We have no say. If we could start another league, it's that monopoly the owners have, and it's only a few owners. It only takes 8 owners, and that's all. And it's it's just a monopoly. And I'm not a fan of. I don't know him, but I'm not a fan of how Bettman is running things. To me, if it was a Canadian, I think it'd be a different. I think Bettman is an American, and I'm not biased or opposed against Americans, but he doesn't get how much this means to our country. He didn't grow up. He didn't live and breathe it. And I think a Canadian commissioner would be more, guys, this is a huge part of our country, and he's just a ruthless businessman, and I understand he's doing his job, but so I'm not a fan of that.
We're going to come to the microphone in just a couple of minutes. So I'm just about to finish up here. But this book is you mentioned your dad earlier. The book's dedicated to your parents.
Yeah.
And you mentioned your siblings in the book as well, who are older siblings. And I just want to know about the dynamics in your family. You said your dad was really, really funny.
Yeah.
Was he the funniest person in your family?
Yeah, my brother's funny too. My mother, father, brother, sister were born in Scotland. They emigrated here. I was born here. They used to say I was adopted, just to bug me. That gives you an idea of what my family was like. So I found out last year I'm not adopted. Once I made it, they're like, you're not adopted. No. But no, my mom has a sense of humor, but my dad and my brother are pretty funny. And, being the youngest, I would just look and see and listen and learn. And I was the one and I did. Getting into stand-up is not something, that's easy to do. It's just the courage, the fear. I was, even as confident as I was, and I was terrified that first night.
But when was the first time you watched a comedian and saw a comedian doing their thing and thought, I could do this?
Oh, sorry. You know what it was? I grew up on John Candy and Michael J. Fox. Those are the 2 guys that I would be glued to and just laugh and want to be like. Yeah. And I would sit in my room and talk into my mirror and just pretend I was, when I was 12, 13. Once I thought of stand-up, and it was actually a class, one of my grade 12 classes, that a kid yelled out, a kid named Peter Tanev, who's a teacher, said, have you ever thought of stand-up? Because and I had thought, I had seen it. So then I would go to clubs and I would watch. But I didn't know much about, I thought Richard Pryor was an actor. I didn't grow up, I didn't know who Lenny Bruce was and Bill Hicks and George Carlin. I didn't know who they were. I knew Michael J. Fox and John Candy and John Ritter. I knew those guys. But I wasn't a student of stand-up.
But later on, when you started doing it and going to clubs, was it like an education that you had to get?
Yeah, there's 2 levels of stand-up. There's the beginning level where you need to make, in the States they say just sort of make the masses laugh. Just easy, kind of safe. And I was always very clean, and I'm still fairly clean. And then there's make the back of the room laugh, where the comics hang out. And if you ever learn to do both, that's the level you want to get to. So like Louis C.K. is a guy that does both. But no, I mean, I never really sat and watched comics. I was teaching the next day, so I didn't even get to know a lot of the comics, right? Like I would be up at 7 o'clock going to school. Most comics would, that was it. They'd sleep till noon and they'd get up and they were, the reason I think I made it in comedy is because I never had to have the gigs, the work. Wow. If a comic makes, I would say the average comic in Canada that's been doing it 10 years would make under 30,000. That's a 10-year comic in Canada. I was making 50 teaching. So I would make that extra 30 on the side. It was like, this is great. I could quit waitering, and it was great. So I never had the pressure, and I never had to sleep on couches on the road. I could get a hotel. I'm like, I'm not gonna sleep on someone's couch. I'm 32 years old, right? So it was good for me in that sense, because it can be a very stressful life when you're only, and every day you think you're one gig away from a sitcom, from a book. Yeah. I never lived that way. I never had to live that way. So I just did it. It was a lot easier. It was less stressful.
There's some testimonials in the book from students and teachers that either were taught by Gerry or work with Gerry. And at the end of the book, one of the kids says, one kid writes, "I can't say he didn't make us laugh," which is not a huge ringing endorsement of your comedy, right?
But I wasn't there to make them laugh. I really was accidental.
A lot of them say you were very funny. But you referred to this earlier, and this is the last paragraph in the book, and I just want to read this because this is actually a principal at the school writing. I remember one day when I was in my office, I was looking out at the oval green in front of the school, and several times over the course of a few weeks, I noticed one of our students out there walking around in circles. On this day, the young lady looked upset. I thought she was crying. I was concerned, so I went outside to check on her. When I asked what was wrong, she said that she'd been laughing so hard at something Gerry had said in class that she had to excuse herself and go for a walk.
She was a little different, she was a little different too, but...
So that's the effect that Gerry had on students, and they really liked him. So thanks a lot for talking to us, Gerry.
Thank you, that was fun. Thank you.
That's up to you. So who's going to ask the first question?
Hey, Gerry.
How are you?
I'm good. When you write your jokes, how do you know whether or not they'll be funny or not?
How do I know when they're not?
How do you know whether or not they'll be funny or not?
It's an instinct that you get better at. My first couple years I would write a joke and I would think it was funny and it was not. Now I play with the joke more. Sometimes I'll reverse the syntax, or I'll change the word, or I'll lie a little bit in the joke to, or I'll bring someone else into the story, and I'll keep working a joke 15, 20 times before I give up. Before I would think, I'd give up right away. Now you learn, you get more of a veteran, and you think, I'll keep trying. Like there's a joke I'm working on now that's a little bit uncomfortable to people, but it's a real story, and I've been getting it starting to work because I'm softening one part of it or changing a little bit. So you don't know until you do it, and sometimes you just give up. I remember I did a joke, and my wife said it was terrible, and I tried it so many times, and I never ever got a laugh. And the joke was, what was Christmas Day like when Jesus was born, walking around Bethlehem? It must have been chaos, like every 5 seconds. Happy birthday, Jesus! Hey, Jesus! Happy birthday, buddy! Jesus! What's up, buddy? Happy birthday today! And like that, I got nothing, right? But in my head, I'm like, that is so funny. And eventually I just...
Wait 1 year.
I had to wait a year. And I just had to drop it, and that's when you're like, all right, it's not going anywhere.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Gerry.
Hello.
I just wanted to know what made you finally decide to leave teaching and go for comedy full time?
The real answer to that, it was, despite all of this, I'm a businessman probably on top of all this, and it was a business decision that I felt I could make some money, some real money, and I thought if I was going to try to get a sitcom, to do all these things, I needed to, go full tilt at teaching, and I wasn't able to do that, and I was doing a disservice to De La Salle, because I was on Star Search while I was on De La Salle. I was in the San Francisco. I was taking leaves of absence, unpaid, but I was doing a disservice to the school and I was getting work, and I'd have a gig in Windsor on a Wednesday night. I would drive back and go to school and have 4 hours sleep. So I thought I could make a living. At the time, I thought I could at least make what I was making teaching. And I was doing a lot of corporate comedy, Christmas parties for companies. And as the pay went up, I thought, okay. And when I went to LA to do a couple guest spots while I was teaching, a lot of comics said, your act about teaching, that's a sitcom. And that was 2003. And it was 2010, 11 before it got off the ground. So it was just time, money-wise.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hey, Gerry. So as a young comedian, I'm trying to write jokes. So as a comedian yourself, do you endorse fudging the truth?
Yes, you have to, yeah.
And if you could, since you do, could you give me a little leeway on where you have to cut it off and say
well, how old are you?
I'm 16.
Yeah, the best advice I gave young comics, and I don't follow this advice now, and I'll tell you why, but I is not to swear. It's the first, not to talk about bedroom or bathroom humor. I don't talk about bedroom humor really and bathroom humor that much. I do one story about my wife in the delivery room, but they're all real stories. But I tell young comics, just don't swear and you'll stand out. And it's harder and to be clean, but if you're gonna make money at this job or ever get on TV, you have to be clean. The problem is you're 16, you don't have a lot of things to talk about yet, so you tend to go to, and it's a nervous thing, right? A lot of young comics will throw in an F word because they're nervous. It's a thing. And the first thing I would do is work on your presentation skills, make sure you're comfortable, be ready for rejection, be ready for all those things, and get up on stage as much as you can. That's the only way. The practice makes perfect is so true in stand-up. You can't do it in front of your mirror. You gotta do it, you gotta take the bomb, you gotta just have silence and be able to, you're gonna get booed, you're gonna get off, you suck, you're gonna get all that. So find another career, that'd be my best suggestion. Because the chances of you making it are slim.
Thanks.
It is, the numbers, there's very few comics I realize I'm an exception. Russell Peters is an anomaly, you'll never see that again. Yes, sir.
Hi.
Hello.
What do you think makes Mr. D so special?
Wow, good question.
I think that people watch and see that he's trying. He's really trying to, and he really does like teaching. And that's a bit of a contrast because of what he does and says. You would think he doesn't. But I think as you watch the show, you root for him because deep down he probably knows he's not where he wants to be in his life. With girls, with family, he's just got a full-time job. So I think that's what makes him special.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Hey.
Hi, Gerry.
How are you?
Gerry, this is a little off topic, but I want to know what it felt like to sucker punch Ricky.
Wow, I didn't connect. It's all staged for the movie. But, being a part of the Trailer Park Boys movie, which was a very cult television show, was a unique experience that I'll never forget, and it was fun. I mean, those guys are rock stars, and it was just neat to be in a movie.
Thank you.
Thanks. Hey.
What's your favorite story about interviewing an athlete as Gerry D, sports reporter?
What's my what? Sorry.
Favorite story about interviewing?
Well, Charles Barkley was the best one, I think, for me. Those interviews on The Score, there's 3 components. There's, how on am I that day? Am I on? Am I good? How good is the person I'm interviewing? Is there any chance they're funny or on? And the third one is, how big of a star are they? And that interview had all 3, because Barkley and I worked well together, and he's a massive star. To get those guys, you're just like, wow. Peyton Manning, getting the big stars like that for me as a sports fan is always fun. But the Barkley interview, I think, to this day would be the hardest one to duplicate.
All right, great, thanks.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
As a parent and as a teacher and as a humorist, how do you suggest a parent deals with a teacher who is neither funny but entirely indifferent to teaching? And an administration who also is indifferent and not funny.
There's not, my wife and I talk about that now. We have kids in school, and you're gonna cross paths where you don't like the teacher, and the things they're doing you don't agree with. You're probably not the first person to bring that to the attention of the principal, but as I said earlier, when you're in a union situation, they don't just go in and it's so much to move them in midstream, and they don't have the power to do that.
Like, I'm pro-union and I'm pro-teacher.
Yeah, I am too, but
they hide behind, sometimes there are teachers who actually don't care.
no,
And
lots more than
Right.
parents think.
And they impose that on the kids, especially kids who, there's not one type of child who learns. And I'm at a loss as a
You know
parent.
what? I mean, you got, and the reality is you either wait the year out because you'll switch, or you go to another school if it's that bad. I don't know if I'm the right person to give you an answer.
I just want, no, for sure.
I think what I would do is just test the level of the severity of it. I mean, there's situations where teachers are verbally abusive. I mean, you've got to get your kids out of there. I always joke that teachers would teach a lot differently if they were being taped.
For sure.
But once you're gone as parents, it's your word against the kids, and we tend to believe teachers, and it's not always fair.
Thank you.
Good luck with that. Send them a nasty email.
Hi.
Hi there.
To take the Ricky Gervais example, he did The Office, 2 seasons, a few specials, and as soon as that was done, he felt like there was no more juice. He wanted to change things up. He went to different series, and he's been constantly trying to change with different projects. Do you feel as though Mr. D, there's like enough juice to kind of do many seasons, or do you want to change at some point?
No, it's different in Canada. You try to hang on to something. I think we have something special. I think it'll take 3 seasons before it catches on. Our show is very atypical for CBC. So no, it's not something like I think of right now. All my focus is trying to get 4, 5, 6 seasons, and there's endless stories about schools. We've all had teachers, so there's so many things that I lived and breathed as a teacher that I'm not worried about that. And when the creative energy is gone, or the creative is not as good, that's when I'll say, or they'll say, that you're done. But for now, no, we're hoping to have a long run.
And I guess as a follow-up question, do you have other projects that you're looking?
I have projects in my head that I've got to get to paper that that I'll pitch eventually. But I'm pretty busy. We have 3 kids that are all under the age of 5. Family's a very, very important thing for me to be around. I tour with stand-up across Canada, and I had, just finishing the book, that was a lot of time. Between that and writing and the show, and it's kind of just still in my head. But yeah, there's a couple things that, you're always thinking next step. You have to, otherwise you'll be gone very quickly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gerry D, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Gerry D, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you very much.